that's all human emotion is
Right.
generally layered because if you get angry that you're sad, well now you're hysterical. So it's the judgment of the emotion. If we just let our emotions be and pass, we're gonna be much
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, it's the judgment of the emotion. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I'm
Right.
angry feeling this way, and that's what spins people out.
Welcome to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. I'm your host, Tenya Eichenberg, and this is a space where transformation begins. Here, we dive deep into energy healing, self-care, and the power of mindset to help you break free from old patterns and design a life that feels aligned, vibrant, and authentically you. True metamorphosis isn't just about change. It's about becoming who you were always meant to be. Now, let's get into this week's conversation. Welcome back to the Metamorphosis Project Podcast. Today I have with me Justin Shaw. Justin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here, there, everywhere.
Everywhere.
The magic of the internet. Yeah.
Okay. This is just it. Sometimes it boggles my mind. Like when I think back to when I was a teenager, like cell phones weren't even, I mean, while they were a thing, I mean, Zach Morris had the big brick in Saved by the Bell, and that was, the extent of our technology.
hmm
I don't know how old you are, so I might be aging myself here.
Oh
Um,
no, we're pretty close in line. You might be a couple
okay,
years older than me, but not much. Yeah. No,
okay.
we're in the same era. Yeah.
But to go from that to this in just a matter of 30 years,
Is
right?
incredible. Yeah,
That's
it really
crazy.
is.
Because if
hmm
you look back at the 30 years prior to that, technology was not advancing as fast.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Yeah, yeah. And I think we're behind schedule. So I think things are going to really start ramping up really quickly in terms of
Yeah,
technology. So
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Cat wants to come in and say hello. Um, so I want to first talk a little bit about, because it's the Metamorphosis Project, right? It's talking about transformation, and then we're going to get into this great book that you wrote with the 13 rungs. And I love how you put in your book the 13 rungs of a ladder.
hmm
I really resonated with that, especially with the work that I do and the 13 things that I did when I was getting out of my anxiety and depression. It really resonated that and 13 is such a big number for numerology. So it's just like there's just so much going on here.
It wasn't random. Yep.
Yep. But tell us, can you walk us through, just briefly or however long you want to talk about it, how you got to the point where you started to figure all of this out? Like what
Yeah, it's
drove you to figuring that out?
yeah, it's a story. And I've got it down to kind of a pretty tight, lean 10, 12 minutes. But yeah, it's good to kind of go back because I can't really just tell parts of it without kind of getting into the whole
Yep.
thing. But yeah, I won't get
Sure.
too long-winded with it. But I grew up in a very kind of emotionally suppressive household, I would say. It was just me and my mom growing up. It was my dad was around for a little bit when I was much younger, but they were older when they had me, and so my brothers and sisters are much older than me. I came along way later in life, so there was already a crack in the marriage when I came along, and that kind of morphed into a canyon. So now it was just around the time, and so it was just her and I in the house because my brothers and sisters, the closest one to me is 19 years older, and I have one who's 23 years
Wow.
older. So I'm an only child, but I'm also not. So
Right, right. They they
it's
were they
kind of
were more
weird.
probably more like aunts and uncles than
Yeah, aunts and uncles.
brothers
Yeah,
and
their
sisters.
kids feel more like siblings to
Yeah,
me because they're
yeah,
closer in age to me. So,
yeah.
um, but yeah, so it was a very different kind of upbringing. But it was my mother just really didn't understand the concept of love at all, and so she was a kind person. She internalized a lot of her pain. She wasn't the type to get angry and spew and like I wasn't abused or anything. It was just very neglectful emotionally. So she didn't say the word love. She wasn't very good with hugging. Like she just really didn't understand the concept at all. And so that just a tough kind of lonely upbringing. So what I gravitated towards most was at the time, the video games and things like that, but was the movies and TV of the time period, and I just loved to laugh, and I found that
Mhm.
it was just all these amazing things were going. I would stay up late and watch Saturday Night Live, and that was when Adam
That was the best,
Sandler.
wasn't it?
That was yeah, that was Adam. That was the true the Yankees
Yeah.
lineup with like Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and Chris Farley and just David Spade and Dana Carvey. It was just the greatest lineup that
Yeah.
SNL's ever had, and so I would stay up late and watch them and just impersonate a lot of the things I saw on there. Jim Carrey was at the top of his game with In Living Color and the Ace Ventura and all his movies, and The Simpsons were just the funniest they've ever been. So I'd had all these things that and we didn't have the amount of content that kids have now. So when you
Right.
found something you liked, you just watch it over and over and over. You'd
Yep.
like put the tape in and tape it. And just so I just had, there was not that amount of content to watch as these kids have now. So you found something you liked, you just watch it over and over. So I
Right.
just was programming all this stuff into me. And so making friends wasn't too difficult. I was naturally a loner because that's kind of how I was raised. But if I wanted to make friends, I knew how. So that was kind of the avenue I went, and kind of did the class clown thing certainly, and that was a lot of fun through middle school and high school. But that's when I found drugs and alcohol in high school, and so that was another escape from pain. So comedy was escape from pain, and I used food too, probably, and so I already had these escapes from pain, but I found new ones in high school, and that's when things kind of got out of hand. And in college, it went to college. It somehow got through college. I don't know how I was, inebriated the entire period of college, but I somehow, willed and that just shows like the will of the spirit. I willed my way through college somehow. And so, but afterwards, I was just lost. It was just like, okay, I graduated college, now what? And I couldn't hold down a job because I was high on drugs, and so I decided to move to LA and try to pursue stand-up comedy, and that's when things just got really bad because I do kind of open mics and things, but it just was the drugs and alcohol were just out of hand there. So I went to rehab, and that first time was like, okay, this whole spiritual mumbo jumbo that was not a part of my upbringing really much at all. That kind of my mother kind of had me passively go to Sunday school, but she never went or did anything. She just
Right.
had me.
Vacation Bible school just
Yeah,
to,
just kind of, just
keep
kind of,
you busy
I
during the
get some,
summer.
yeah, I get some morals or
Right.
whatever, like,
Right.
so that I don't have to teach you. So,
Right.
so I just when I had a say in the matter when I was 12 or 13, I stopped. I didn't want any part of it. So that first time in rehab, my understanding was just I am struggling right now because I am massively physically addicted to, opiates and stimulants and benzodiazepines, all these drugs, these cocktail of horrible things. And so I'm feeling like crap because I am physically just, I just need to go someplace, dry myself out. I'll be feeling better and I won't want to use again.
Right.
So that was what I did. Wasn't interested in your AA thing, wasn't the spirits, you can keep all that. I'm just going to get clean and I'll be done. And somehow that did last 3 months. I'm surprised it even lasted that long. But so, that led to another couple years of struggle. And so I came back the second time. I was like, okay, all right, I don't know everything. So, because I'm back here again and I really didn't want to be.
Right.
So then I was open to the whole spiritual concepts, and I went to a faith-based rehab center here in Phoenix. The first one was kind of in California, and so I moved back to Phoenix and went to this faith-based one. And I took in this Christianity thing, AA. They really go hand in hand together because AA is just essentially just kind of disguised Christianity. It's
Right.
built on this foundation of
Right.
Christianity. It's pretty obvious.
Right.
So they went really well together. For 5 or 6 years, I was sober. I was living a very mediocre life, but that's better than the life I was living. I had been to jail. I had spent nights and a couple weeks in a park bench. Halfway houses, rehabs, and so a mediocre life was
Right.
was winning. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that was
Definitely.
big time winning. But that's what I kind of realized later on, and it just what happened was, my mother was pronounced terminally ill, And that's kind of traumatizing enough, obviously. So, watching her body dwindle away and her mind with dementia, that was extremely tough. But what made things 1,000 times more tough was my programming from all this Christianity that she was a heathen and she's hellbound because she never went to church. She
Hmm.
wanted nothing to do with any of it.
Yeah.
And so, that's when I started realizing that, the Christianity that I had, was held so close to me that was supposed to help me through times like this, not only didn't help, it made it a million times
Made it
worse.
worse.
It made it much worse. And I realized that, I had moved into this metaphorical, I call Christianity this metaphorical mansion, right? I had moved in when I got sober and it was like, oh, there's 17 bedrooms in this and there's I don't know, 19 bathrooms, there's a pool room and there's a pool outside and there's a game room and there's this amazing life is great inside the mansion, but after a while in the mansion you're not allowed to leave. So then the mansion becomes a prison.
Your
So it's
jail.
like
Yeah.
this metaphorical prison. And so
Yeah.
investigating other religions and doing other, even things like meditation and yoga, and these are all taboo. And you're not, if you want to be included in the Christian community, you have to conform completely to what they think is a Christian completely. Otherwise, you're going to lose friends and you're not going to be accepted. And he's the weirdo. He's the outlier. Don't
Right.
question the Bible. Just be a sheep and just so I realized, that this mansion that was my prison, all of a sudden, with my mother getting sick, I realized this mansion is built on a cracked foundation of fear, judgment, and control. And so the mansion then starts to crumble all around me when my mother gets sick. And so I have no choice but to leave this mansion because it's now
It's
rubble.
tumbling.
It's rubble. So and I left and I realized how great the world is outside the mansion. And I hired a shaman to come in and show me different views and perspectives. And he went over, kind of questioning the beliefs I held so close to me, not just from the Christianity as an adult, but from childhood and these beliefs that have been placed inside of me. And he started me meditating and, the yoga thing more. And, yoga and meditation is every day now. And
Hmm.
so he exposed me to this whole new world. And around this time, was this is when I had my first bliss attack, and I love talking about my bliss attack. I always get goosebumps. It's my favorite thing. I've had several of them since then, but they're essentially it's like 3 hours. It's like a onset of a panic attack if you replace panic with love.
Right.
So it's like these 3 hours of just intense, amazing feeling at the same time I'm getting downloads and like direction for what I'm supposed to be doing, truths about the universe. And I know these are absolute fact truths that I am not to question because of how I'm feeling. How I'm
Right.
feeling that it's
Right.
just this is truth. This is
Was
what
it
I'm being
was it
told is truth.
was it euphoric?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3 hours. Yeah, it was three and it was just
Wow.
I call it my near life experience because it wasn't a near death
Oh, I
experience. I
love
wasn't dead.
that.
Yeah, I wasn't dead. It was like, and I wasn't. I've never, I hear a lot of people that have the out of body experiences. I hope one day to have one of those. This is not that.
Yeah.
I was very much in my body. What was happening is it was like I was being emotionally taken to the other side. I was like being shown what it feels like to die, and I can't wait. I mean, I'm not suicidal by any means,
You
but
know,
I
right,
can't wait.
but those of us who, and that's so interesting that you say that because I mean, there was a time, I mean, everybody, well, now I can't say everybody, but most people have a fear of death
Mhm.
because they're not sure what's on the other side. They're not sure what's going to happen after they pass. But I think that fear of death more comes from what they are leaving behind,
Yeah.
right? If
Yeah.
they just if they had a glimpse into what our souls get to experience when they're not in these human bodies, when they're not tethered to this earth in a sense,
Hmm.
that they would really think differently because you never lose the people that pass on.
Oh no,
They're
it's
always there,
glorious, and they don't
right?
miss you because
No, they don't.
they're
They're
a
like,
part of this
thank
source
God I'm
energy.
done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're a part of the source energy. Like
Yeah.
they're there. They
Yeah.
don't miss you.
No.
They're everything is this one energy, which is what I was, realized in this blissful moment of kind of awakening is that I had been on airplane mode my whole life, and
Hmm.
this was a moment I was taken off airplane. A phone perpetually in airplane mode. It's still useful. but it's not living
Right.
up to potential. You can't make
Right.
calls, you can't get any messages. So like I was in airplane mode. And so part of this bliss attack was to help people get off airplane mode, have their own bliss attacks, have healing and have incredible lives, and let them get there.
Yeah.
So one of my bliss attacks was the creation of the book and the kind of 13 rungs and so that was one of my bliss attacks was like you need to show people how to have this happen, a map or a blueprint print for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
yeah,
I
that's
love
where
that.
it had come in.
I'm just
Yeah.
taking notes because I love some of the things you've said, like airplane mode, bliss attack, near life experience. Like,
Yeah.
um, these are it's did these help you to look at your life and go, my God, it's already so amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it was this moment. And at the time, and too, it's important to know that like having this experience doesn't completely change. Like it changed me in that moment and changed the trajectory of my life.
Right.
But at the time, I was still struggling with several traumas that were happening. It happened. This was shortly after my mother dying, and then I had a sister die, and then I had a close childhood friend die. Then I had an ex who we had an infant son. She left to visit Boston and just never came back and cut me out of
Mhm.
all communication, and I haven't seen my son in 3 years. So like
Oh my goodness.
you had these things that happen, and I was not dealing with them
Right.
properly. So I had all these things still happening. So I had this moment of awakening, but I was still struggling with some trauma, struggling with drugs and
You are
alcohol.
still human.
Yeah, I was still very much a human. I didn't all of a sudden, wake up and become the superhuman every day. And because after that happened, it's just you ask yourself, like the next day, like what went on? Like what was
Right.
that? And you're questioning because now you're back to reality,
Right.
and you're kind of asking yourself, like
Was it a dream?
yeah, what was going on there? Like what was happening? And you're questioning all these things. So it's important to know, like it's just that these things don't just happen. So you have to take the steps with it and kind
Right.
of the but from that moment it was like the phone started ringing and I didn't answer the phone for a couple years, but it's one of those really obnoxious old school ringing phones that, like from when like we were kids, like
Yep.
like it's one of those really
You like
annoying
bring those
ringing
back.
phones. Yeah, please let's not, those PTSD from those phones. Yeah, it's so like it's just so like this phone is just constantly ringing, so I finally picked it up and like 2 years ago I went to I was in Sedona and I had these revelations of, how to do the book. And so I really cleaned my act up and stopped, and once I stopped completely with the drugs and alcohol, now I'm really clear and now I'm getting a
Hmm.
lot more downloads and everything. And so, that's been critical to my writing and to everything is just maintaining sobriety. And some people can, that's fine. I didn't, it's no big deal to use drugs and alcohol occasionally, and if that's fine. But for me, I really am not interested anymore. I
Yeah.
love being sober and having this clear mind and communication for this source energy. It's the source energy is like I like to say it's like explaining water to a fish. So it's like, it's the substance that surrounds you and you live because of it and you breathe because of it. Everything that you are is because of this substance that surrounds you.
Hmm.
But, a fish is going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about. What do you mean? Water? Like, what is that? So, but once you see the water, now you
Right.
want to tell all the other fish that
Yeah.
there's this substance around you
Right.
that like you don't know is there. And that is the etheric field, that unified field. There's science has names for it, religion has names for it, God is another name for it. It's just it is, and that's what gets so confusing is that there is hundreds of names for it, and but they explain it in different ways. So I like to use source energy.
Hmm.
And so it is that field of energy. It can be connected to at any moment, and it is filled with information of everything that ever was and ever will be. So this book, I just connected to the possibility of the book and had the download. It's ancient wisdom that has been around since the beginning of time. It just got filtered through my experiences, through my humor, through my subconscious, through me. And
Hmm.
so, what made Jesus such an effective spiritual teacher is he spoke the language of the times.
Right.
And so, he spoke of this field and energy and how people can do this themselves and empower themselves and all this. And, it wasn't, Jesus didn't create Christianity. Jesus didn't want religion at all. Jesus was trying to lead people away from religion, not create a new one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the language of these times is humor, pop culture, and kind of technology metaphors. Like I was
Right.
with the airplane mode, like so, so people understand these technology metaphors. Pop culture, I was, such a movie nerd, and now that I've kind of have this new awakening, I see that, the mysteries of the universe are tucked away in the nooks and crannies of our pop culture. You just
Isn't
have to
that so
find it.
funny?
You,
Like
yeah,
I would
it's
watching movies and I'd be
everywhere.
like, oh, oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
understand that.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Watching Groundhog Day after my
Yep.
awakening was mind blowing. I was like, here, this is how it works. This is like
Yeah.
he's stuck in his negative energy. He gets stuck in this town, which is like the metaphor for his little world. So he gets
Right.
stuck in his little world, and it's the same day over and over. How many people do we know that are experiencing that? Maybe it's not February 2nd, the same day over, but it is the same day over and
Right.
over.
Right.
And
They
they're
get
stuck
up.
in
They.
this, yeah,
Yep.
it's this negative loop energy. And what changes is like he changes himself. And all of a sudden, now that his personal hell all of a sudden becomes his personal heaven, and he doesn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And it all came from him and him deciding that he was going to be better and have better energy. And it's just like watching it was like, oh my God, I've seen that, since I was a child, and it never meant more to me than it does now. So
Yeah.
and that's just one example. There's I mean, and I put tons of movies and shows in the books to illustrate like what this is. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the coolest part about it. So language of the
That's
times.
yeah, that's awesome. So take us through a couple of your favorite rungs. So ones that I don't want to go through all of them because of course we want people to go and buy your book. But take us through a couple of your favorite rungs.
Yeah, and if you can't afford a book, I will gladly send you a free PDF because I'm interested in just getting this information out there. And so,
Well, I can if and I can cut this out if you want me to, but I can put the one you gave me, I can put that link in the show notes.
yeah,
If you
yeah,
want to do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
The link for the book.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
do
the
that.
one you sent me.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do that. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so it can be out there. Yeah, I mean, we obviously don't have time to go through all 13, but is there any that jump out to you? I mean, was there any that I can go over a couple if you want, but
The ones that jump out to me, of course, is the first rung, the shadow work,
mm,
right? Because I think
let's start there. Yeah,
that is the hardest thing for people to understand that they need to do.
yep,
That they really have to take a look at themselves and take a look at the darker side of what they're going through so that they can understand and come back out of it. So we'll go the shadow work. I love the comfort of discomfort and the rose colored contacts. Just kind of like starts
okay.
beginning in the middle and towards the end.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so the shadow work is extra. That is why it's the first rung. They're not in any particular order per se. They're not like I took them drew inspiration from kind of the 12 steps and created
Right.
13 rungs. Instead of moving forward, you're moving up because a bird has a better perspective on things than a worm, right? Um, so they're not in any like strict order like the 12 steps, one, two, three. You don't jump. It's very
Right.
fluid and you
You
move
read them
through them.
however you need to read them.
Yeah, yeah, and some may be more important. Some may come natural, like health, keeping myself healthy always came natural to me. I don't need to focus on that, but there's other things in there, like shadow work, that I need to focus on more because it doesn't come so naturally.
Right.
And so, shadow work is, it is the side of us. I like to say I'm a little bit Deepak and a little bit Tupac, and that's me in kind of in a nutshell. That it is the reactionary side to us and the kind of divine and the reactor and the responder. I see the sorcerer is the responder, the shadow is the reactor. And in order to kind of overcome the shadow, you have to be first aware of it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is, becoming aware of the shadow is stepping out of yourself and realizing that you are not this character you've been playing. You are the awareness of the character. So it's like, your mind is the software, your body is the computer, but who you are is the person on the computer. So you are the observer. So you observe the shadow, that is not
Hmm.
who you are. So there's one thing I had a real problem with in AA is I am an alcohol. No, you are not. No, I
No.
am not. You are not. You are the awareness of that side of you. That is the
Right.
shadow. The alcoholic, that is the shadow. You're the awareness of it. That is not who you are at all.
Right.
So, it's I like to say it. So I like to use the car analogy, and there's different points in my life where my shadow's been in each seat in the car. So, in my 20s, the shadow was driving the car. And if the shadow is driving the car, it's going to always aim for the cliff every time. And if your shadow is driving the car, it's going to aim for the cliff every time. You might be able to get your car back on the road for a little bit, but it'll go right back off the cliff. So it's always going to drive off the cliff. And that's when I was not functional. I was in my 20s. I really couldn't, I was jail and rehabs and park benches and like this is completely. We see people in society like this, and their shadow is driving the car. They're not consciously aware. They're just letting their
Right.
shadow drive the car, and it's
Right.
destroying their life. Well, you can move the shadow into the passenger seat, and this is my Christian experience. Was the shadow is now in the passenger seat. So I had all these Christian dogma and maybe limiting beliefs from childhood, and so the shadow is still too involved in my life. Like it wasn't my car was not driving off the cliff. I was living a very mediocre life, but I was being held down by this shadow voice of these rules and dogma for Christianity and these limiting beliefs I had from childhood that you can only do. I'm not really that great. I can't do certain things. I can't this, I can't that. This is the shadow talking. It's too involved in your life. Where you want it is in the back seat because you can't get rid of it. You can't get it out of
Hmm.
the car. It's
Right.
a part of who we are. Some people, it's their shadow is more dormant, but your shadow is one trauma away from presenting itself. So it is there in all of us, and so the way to deal with it is to love it because if you start getting angry at that side of you, now you're creating more emotions that the shadow wants. So the
Hmm.
shadow wants you to get angry, wants to be upset, wants you to be reactionary. And if you get mad that, if you get mad that you're reacting, that's like that's all human emotion is
Right.
generally layered because if you get angry that you're sad, well now you're hysterical. So it's the judgment of the emotion. If we just let our emotions be and pass, we're gonna be much
Yeah. Yeah.
well, it's the judgment of the emotion. I shouldn't be feeling this way. I'm
Right.
angry I'm feeling this way, and that's what spins people out. But where you want this is just you want to treat it like the child in the back seat. Just check in on it. How you doing? Can I adjust the air back there? Like, can I change the radio? Are you doing okay?
Right.
So
Do you need
it's
some
just,
Cheerios?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's sure. That's great. Yeah, little Lunchables. So yeah, so that's the way you want to treat it.
Yeah.
So that is kind of shadow work in a bit of in a nutshell. I can get much. I mean, you could easily do a show or two just on that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of what it's becoming aware that there is this side to us, and there really is no good and bad people. There's just
No.
people, and
Yeah,
it's
right.
the
Right.
natives. The natives will say
Yep.
we have two wolves living inside of us. There's the light wolf and the dark wolf, and whichever one you're feeding is the one that dominates. So, people that are, we see they're struggling and feeding their dark wolf a lot, and they're really unpleasant people. And so, but they're not bad people. They just don't understand. They don't have conscious awareness.
Right.
The biggest thing for people suffering, I've noticed, is just a lack of awareness. And if
Hmm.
people had more awareness, there'd be, suffering is optional. Pain is not. It's why we're here. We're here to experience
Right.
pain. It's
Right.
inevitable. But
Suffering is
suffering
optional.
is optional.
Yeah.
So, so there's and that is awareness. So that's kind of shadow work. What was the second one you wanted? What was I forgot. Oh
Comfort
yeah.
and discomfort.
Comfort and discomfort. Yeah. So that's really about you got to push yourself into some discomfort every once in a while. I say at least once a week, do something that you really are scratching your head at, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like it's something, it doesn't have to be something crazy or, like it doesn't have to be skydiving every week. But that is something that, you can push yourself out and
Yep.
do something because on the other side of fear is freedom. And it's just when you experience something that that you're kind of dreading about, like if you're ever asked to do, something at a, funeral or give a, speech at a wedding, do those things because source will get you high afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's about just pushing yourself into things that are not comfortable. And it's amazing the reward that you get after that and the growth that is experienced
Right,
from that.
right.
It's
And
it's
how many more
fascinating.
things you'll be able to do because as you do more things that are uncomfortable, later on when you go to do things that might be uncomfortable, it's not as uncomfortable because you're like, well, look what I did before.
Hmm.
Look what I
Yeah.
was able to accomplish by just stepping into this or by stepping into that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, so there's courage and there's bravery. Bravery is not feeling the fear. So people
Hmm.
who are brave go in and they
Right.
just don't feel fear. Courage, however, can be is for everyone because courage
Yeah.
is feeling the fear and then stepping through it. So those that are courageous and there's always, fear of failure is a huge one.
Hmm.
It's not even, it's just stepping out and doing, and that's what I'm doing. It's terrifying to just write a book and throw it out there and just see
It
what people
is.
think of your personal work, and that's terrifying. That's
Yep.
I'm doing something very uncomfortable. Um, Not these though. This isn't uncomfortable for me at all. I love doing these. But throwing out my work to the world is terrifying. So
Yeah.
and doing this and hoping, hoping to make something of it. It's all scary because there's this fear of failure. But
Yeah.
you have to realize, greatness will get overlooked. And we see that over and over again in everyone has a story. Michael Jordan, missed the varsity team his freshman and sophomore year. Like used to smoke weed with a kid in high school that made the varsity team his freshman year. This is Michael Jordan. So, like greatness will get overlooked.
Yeah.
Eminem's first CD sold 1,000 copies. It was before Dr. Dre hit. And, so the greatness gets overlooked and
Yeah.
people fail. Stephen King, that was my favorite one. Is, the first 32 publishers he sent his first book, Carrie, to rejected him. And so it's just, you see story after story, of people failing. It's
Hmm.
just, the, I like to say that the winners are going to go from you don't see failures as failures, you see them as lessons, and the winners
Right.
will go from lesson to lesson without losing enthusiasm. So it's just, oh, failed, next one. And it's just, and it doesn't, there's no phasing at all. It's just like, who
Right.
cares? And so to have that kind of empowering and courage to just keep moving forward and to keep doing things, remaining in a positive energy and not being attached to any particular result. And that's important when you're stepping out into the unknown, into the uncomfortable. Like, okay, I'm sending this book out to these publishers, and if they don't send me back, well, then I'm a failure. Well, no,
Hmm.
that's not you can't be attached to the result. You just have to
Right.
keep doing
Yeah.
and keep pushing forward throughout. And because if you stop, that's when the beacon goes off, and then that source energy can't find you. It's like a ship out, in the middle of the ocean. You turn on the rescue beacon. This Coast Guard will send out the helicopter, but it's going to take 5 hours to get there. And if your beacon goes off 2 hours into the well, now they can't find you.
Right.
So
Right.
it's keeping your beacon going so that the universe can conspire and do its thing, and you're keeping your beacon going. So you're acting like the person that you want to be. They always say
Yep.
act as if, but if you feel as if, there's no acting necessary.
Right.
So yeah, that is just moving forward and having no fear, not caring about especially what other people think. And yeah, that fear of failure is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one was the
Rose-colored
yeah,
contacts.
rose-colored contacts. So that is perspective.
Yeah.
And that
Which
is all
I
about
love. I love. I don't know if it's because I'm a Libra. I don't know if it's because I'm a woman. I don't know if it's I don't know what it is, but I have always had an innate ability to see the other side,
mhm.
to see like what my role was in their story and vice versa.
At
So
least
it's
to such peace
really,
of mind. Yeah.
yeah, it is. It's to be able to see, like when I was going through my healing journey through, before that it was like it was my parents' fault, it was this one's
Mm.
fault that I was feeling this way. And then once I started on my own healing journey, that perspective was able to get flipped
Hmm.
And I could see that, oh my gosh, my parents are coming from their own trauma. My parents are coming from this. So it was like it totally changed how I felt about everybody because I could
Hmm.
just see the different perspective. But rose-colored contacts, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh yeah, no, no, you're right on point with what it is. I mean, it is about viewing other people that way. It's also about understanding that your life is a reflection of the way you're feeling and who you are. So there's a
Hmm.
constant looping feedback system to the world in front of you and the world inside of you. And there's this constant looping feedback. And for change to happen, you have to change how you feel in the inside, which is always very difficult. The rich get
Yeah.
richer, the poor get poorer. That's why. They've
Yep.
got this constant, they're not aware, and so they've got this constant looping feedback. Their outside world is making them feel like crap, and therefore they're feeling like crap because this is what's presented, and for the illusion in front of them is not what they want, and then they feel bad, and then so it continues. So the loop,
Right.
it's you're feeling, and then it's projecting. If you're looking in front of a mirror and you're frowning, the mirror isn't going to smile for you.
Right.
It's you have to change. You have to smile, and now your reflection is smiling. So this looping feedback system, it's understanding that you truly are the creator of your own world. It's
Hmm.
it's been said ad nauseum for a lot of these, but it is absolutely true. The world is just one big giant thought, and you just have to get in line, in tune. It's a manifestation, right? It's like a tuning in. It's
Right.
once you tune into it, and you're changing the way you're feeling with mind heart coherence, and you're getting your mind and heart in line. That's when the magic can happen, and your perspective will completely change. And that's when things around you start to change. And it's just very difficult in the beginning because you're fighting against what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And that is not easy. But I've done it, and I know it's possible. Not just it is very doable, and it's very much worth it. But having, everything is how you perceive it to be. Like I try to live, I see what goes on in the world, right? I see that,
Hmm.
but there's like a glass partition in between
Right.
what's going on in the world and me. So I see it, but it doesn't become a part of my world. So
Right.
all the nasty things and the horrible division, especially in America with the politics, and I see it all, but it doesn't become a part of
Right. Right.
me. I just
Right.
see it, and I
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
that's so that is I do not let it enter into me. We have too many people that especially this older, the kind of baby boom generation. They wake up every day. They turn on the news every day. I see it around my condo complex. Everyone's got the news on, and they're just feeding themselves this
Yep.
garbage. And
Yeah.
it's one thing to
Social
stay
media.
informed. Yeah, social media. Yeah, it's one thing to stay informed, but you have to understand, especially with the news. The news is given by entertainers. If you're going to get your news, at least go to a reliable online source and get it from a journalist.
Right.
Everyone likes to stay informed, but yeah, but even then, it's there's a bias.
Yep.
There's going to be a bias, and you have to be aware that people can't help but be biased when they're writing these
Right.
things.
Yeah.
So,
And you gotta decide what are you gonna take on as truth.
mhm.
Because I mean we are in the stage of this lifetime where it is very hard to determine anything you read, whether it's true or not.
Yeah, no,
Because it is it is an opinion the way that it's written.
and I think it's fantastic with the AI, the deep
Yeah.
fakes. Like, people are more aware that there's an illusion going on, and
Yeah.
that what they're reading may not be actual truth, and
Yep.
so it's important to understand that, and especially they all come from a fear-based. That's how they grab you, is they
Yeah.
have to have articles of fear
Yep.
and report on fear and doom, and so because that's the addicting emotion. Fear, anger, those
Right.
are addicting emotions that keep
Right.
people coming back even though they don't
But
realize
even
they're doing it.
but even some of the good stories that you see out there are fake.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you do the research on some of these stories, you're like, oh my gosh, like I saw one the other day that Cher had built a hospital and was giving homeless people free surgeries and all this stuff. And I was like, people were sharing it all over the place. I'm like, if you just do a little research, you'll see that that's not true, that
Yeah.
she's not doing that. And then it sits that seed inside someone's head going, my God, I can't believe any of this stuff that
Yeah,
is good or bad. So
you can't.
you really have to get within yourself and go, what is true for me?
And they are creating, and they absolutely do. They just, you think it's, oh, it's on the news, it must be true.
Right.
It's like, no, no, it's not. The one I had the gym. I was at the gym, and the news was kind of on, and I was watching, and it was like a few months ago, and they were kind of doing this thing on. I guess people were like blowing up. Elon Musk was like, people were hating him, and so they were like said that they were blowing up Tesla cars or something. But I can see through CGI, and they were taking a car and creating CGI flames in this car. It was very obvious
Mhm.
to me. And so
Right.
I'm telling you, like they just they're bullshitting everyone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so like, and everyone's just glued to this like it's truth. And you're just like, no, no, no. They just want you to watch. They don't care
Yeah.
what they're reporting on or how they report it, or so. And but that's the whole part of the
Yeah.
perspective is
Yeah.
like news junkies. If you were to just watch Dateline and that's all you watched, you would probably assume most marriages end in murder. Like, so it's like, so that's the
Right.
perspective thing,
Right.
like if you're just constantly feeding yourself the news, that you're going to see a completely different world
Yeah.
than I see. So and I say that in there, like I can't change the news, but the news can sure change me. So,
Yes, you
that's
can.
I get into that in that chapter too, is it's in that section about, just watch what you're intaking, because you're intaking it all. Right?
Yeah.
Even if you're not consciously, you don't might not remember a story on the news, but it's in your subconscious, and everything you're taking in, you're recording. So
Yep.
it is extremely important to be aware of what you're intaking, because that is what's guiding your perspective.
Yeah.
So that's it's critical. Like, I'm so grateful to like kind of be open to these things and be aware of what I'm intaking, and to be constantly listening to these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And if more people, like, I wish I could have understood that when my kids were little.
Yeah.
Because, dear Lord, some of the things that I admittedly let them watch, I probably would not let them, like, I wouldn't be, playing the news around them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, yeah, it's just, you would be more aware of what is in your environment and what everybody's listening to.
Right. My mom was a news junkie. That was what she
Yeah,
just absolutely had
my
the news
parents
on
were
all the
too.
time, all the time, all the time. And it got
Yep.
worse as she was kind of dying. It like that's literally all she watched. And like I have to come in and like change the channel, just like Jesus. Like, I mean, it was getting bad.
Yeah.
So, and that was the rabbit hole she was going down towards the end of her life. And it was very sad to see. There was no more Law and Order. There was no more Golden Girls. It was just like constant Fox News all the
Right.
time. So, and it's so bad for your brain. So, that was really sad to see. But that was who she was kind of before it. It just became all the time.
Right.
Like before there were shows, she would at least take a
Take
break
a break.
from the news.
Yeah.
But towards the end of her life, she
Yeah.
never took a break from the news, and she was just feeding herself this fear and distrust, and just and she died. So,
Yeah.
like it's critically important we understand what we are feeding ourselves. That's that light wolf, dark wolf. What are we feeding
Yep.
ourselves?
What are we
And
feeding
it can come
ourselves?
in the disguise of something good. It's like, oh, the news is good I need to know what's going on. It's good. No, no, it's really not. You need to be
Really
informed,
not.
but
Do we
but
really need to know what's going on in South Africa?
nothing I can
Like,
do about it.
there's not right. There's nothing I
I,
can do. I mean, I can send them thoughts and prayers,
Yeah, that's
but
that's it. Yeah,
but that's
and I
really
get
it.
that on my kind of my Apple News. I don't even need to click on the article.
Yeah.
I'll just see a headline. That's all I need to see. I don't even need to read the article. Just the
Right.
headline. So I'd spend 10 minutes on Apple News, never turn on the actual news ever.
Nope.
And then I'm informed. It's 10
Yep.
minutes. And a lot of articles I don't even need to click on. I can just read the headline and that's the news I need to see. So it's good to stay informed, but you don't need to do deep dives into everything, and you need to
Don't
know where the source is coming from.
don't ingest it. Just
Yeah.
don't ingest it because
Yeah,
everything you ingest sits in your body.
it's like thoughts. So yeah, I
Yep.
mean, we can't control the thoughts that come into our minds, but we can control the thoughts that we want to sit on and ruminate with. And
Yeah.
that's the whole kind of meditation thing, is to kind of learn to watch your thoughts like, cars in the freeway, and just kind of let them go without stopping on a particular thought. If you want to ruminate on a good thought, and like
Yeah.
that's different. That's ruminating on that one. But most of our thoughts are like unpleasant a lot of the times.
Right.
Especially in meditation, I can tell you, like, if you practice that enough, that will change. I promise you that.
Yep. It
That
will.
absolutely changed. Your inner critic will be alchemized into an inner cheerleader, and I have a cheerleader now instead of a critic telling me. I now have my spirit guides like cheer me on. And that
Yeah.
critic still there, still there.
Just
He'll
quieter.
talk. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
quieter. He'll still talk sometimes, but I
Well,
know the difference between the two voices.
right. And you're still here to live that human experience. And part of that human experience is hearing that shadow side of you come
Hmm.
back up every once in a while just to remind you that hey, you're still human,
Yeah. Yep, give it some
right?
Cheerios and let it chill out.
That's right.
Yep.
Justin, is there, as we wrap up this conversation, is there anything that you want the listeners to know or to hear that we didn't cover?
I like to leave people with this. So, it's my favorite thing because it's one of the most things that it's one of the things that I've used that's really changed things for me, and it is kind of that perspective thing. So, there's always this thing on people that's, live life like it's your last day. I've heard that since I was a little kid. Live
Yeah.
life like it's your last day. And, for someone like me, my last day, I'm not going to get up. I'm not going to, I'll sleep in super late. I won't do my yoga and meditation. I'll probably end up at a bar, and I don't know, who knows, I might rob a pharmacy, because you know what? It's my last day and my shadow is just going to kind of run amok, just let it go. It's my last day. So that's my last day thinking. So if you start living life like it's your first day, now
Right.
it's like things have changed. Now you're building something towards the future. You want I'm gonna do my yoga and meditation on my first day. But you're also that it's that childlike kind of curiosity and wonderment of, I like to say this is a simulation. It's like if you treat it like you've just been, rendered into the simulation, and boom, you're who you are, but it's your first day inside the simulation. And it's just like
Hmm.
what this is, and like the beauty of, nature, and the sky and the stars, and start getting curious about, the world, and start getting curious about people. If you start
Yeah.
getting curious about people, they're not going to offend you more. Someone who's like yelling at you, like for
Like,
the
just
Karen
look at him
thing.
like, what? Why are you yelling
Yeah,
at me?
what's going on yeah, something must be going on in your life, that's
Right.
really, and I'm sorry. Do you need a hug?
Right.
Like, so that's, and that is so healthy way to look at things. So
Yeah.
get curious about people, get curious about the world. That's how change starts.
Happens. Yep.
Curiosity.
Yep.
Curiosity. It
Awesome.
didn't kill
Justin,
a
thank
cat.
you.
That's bull that's bull crap.
Perfect. Where can people find you? Where can they find your book? What are all the details?
Yeah, so you can the website is Awaken the Sorcerer, with a U. So wakenthesorcerer.com, so you can get it on there. There's also the audio version, which is on Amazon, on Audible. I think it's on Spotify too. It's on the website. But that's fun because a lot of people don't have time to read a book, and
Yeah.
I read it, and I get to tell my own jokes because it's very funny, and I get to do voices. I'm good at impersonating voices too. So it's fun. It's
Yeah.
a fun listen. So that's on there, and I'm on. Oh, so I always forget the social media. I was off social media for 5 years, I think, which was, it was
I'm coming
blissful.
off on
It was
Saturday.
it was it was really, yeah, the whole 5 years. So I'm back on. I'm using it a little bit differently now, but I'm only have Instagram. I have Facebook PTSD. I'll never get back on there again. But so I have the Instagram, which is sorcerer_13. I've only been on there a few months now, so I like to at least connect with people.
Hmm.
And then the email, I have free spiritual Serpa sessions that I have with
Okay.
people, so I'm helping people through. You can email me sorcerer13 at Gmail, or the book, which you said you put it on there too. But
Yep.
if you can't afford it, I will send it to you, or you can post it on there. But I like to get the information out of there. Money will come later.
Yep,
I'm about getting it out there now. So that's how.
absolutely. Absolutely. Justin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Metamorphosis Project podcast. I hope today's episode brought you inspiration, joy, and a spark of empowerment. Remember, transformation is an incredible journey, and every single step you take towards self-care and healing brings you closer to the life you truly desire. If this episode uplifted you, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us to share this journey of hope, resilience, and joy with many listeners. For more tips, support, and inspiration, come and visit us at designyourexistence.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep shining brightly. You are absolutely worth every bit of love and care you give to yourself. Take care, stay joyful, and be well.